Hi, hello, welcome. My name is Blake. Today I'm going to be talking about my May wrap-up. I can't believe it's already May. I can't believe how quickly the year has gone by. I'm going to have to start doing my mid-year content soon, which is so crazy. But I managed to read 5 books in May, and unfortunately I did not have very many good ones, but I did end up with 2 4-star reads. So I'm going to go from the one I liked the least to the one I liked the most, and let's just jump right into it. Up first here I have Where the Library Hides by Isabel Ibanez, and this is the second book in the Secrets of the Nile series. It is the final book in that duology. And in the first book, we follow Inez, who discovers that her parents have died mysteriously in Egypt. So she rushes to Egypt to figure out what actually happened to her parents. And she kind of gets caught up in this plot to find Cleopatra's tomb. And that is what happens in book 1. And in this book, I was so frustrated. I really enjoyed book 1. I gave it 4 stars. But this book, didn't like it at all. I wish it didn't even exist. That's how mad I was while reading it. We have, our main characters are so frustrating. They make terrible decisions, and I know they're teenagers, but our love interest gave me the major ick in this book. He does something so terrible, so unforgivable, and he keeps being like, well, maybe she'll forgive me. And then our main girl is like, maybe I should forgive him. And I'm like, no, there is no way you can come back from this. And I feel like they didn't even really resolve the problem. This book had no plot. I feel like the majority of it was, we have these 2 characters and they are caught up in miscommunication and family drama. And I feel like that was the majority of this book. The actual plot of this was not introduced until, say, the last 30-35%. And by that point, it was too little, too late to fix the story for me. And I feel like there were just these random plot twists thrown in as shock factor. I feel like there was no foreshadowing, no build up to some of these reveals. And I didn't see some of them coming, and other ones I did see coming. And some of them I didn't even care about most of them. And there was one thing that happened at the end of book 1. I have to talk about it without spoiling it. It's something very big that happens. And it's mentioned a couple of times in this book, but I feel like it should be more traumatic. I feel like it should be brought up and carry more weight to the story than it does. Overall, I wish I had just stopped with book 1. I was very displeased with this one. Next up, I have Gothikana by Runix. And this book follows Corvina, who is in her early 20s. She receives a admission letter from a college that is basically unheard of, and this college has a long history of weird student deaths and disappearances, and she feels very drawn to this college. And when she arrives, she begins to develop feelings for her professor. And I don't get it. I do not get this book. This book is so incredibly popular on Bookstagram. It has a lot of high ratings, and I don't get it. I did not like the characters. I did not like the romance. I don't know what it is, but I have attempted to read, this is my second time reading a student-professor romance story, and it's just, I don't like the romance. So maybe that was part of my problem here. But also, again, I feel like this book didn't have much of a plot. And I feel really disappointed because I feel like this book had the potential. I feel like we had the creepy school, the dark gothic atmosphere that I so love. But then we didn't really do enough with it. And once we did get to the plot, there were so many plot holes. And the author even acknowledges the plot holes at the end of the book. And she kind of just laughs them off. And I waited for these answers and I never got them. I do wonder if they'll be revealed in like a sequel or a spin-off. I think she has another book coming out called Enigma. I don't think I'll be reading it. This book was not what I was hoping it would be. I really was wanting something to like fill the Wednesday void in my life because I love that show, and I was thinking about rewatching it, and I wanted something similar to read. And I heard a lot of people comparing this book to the Wednesday show online, so I gave it a try, and I did not vibe with this one the way I had hoped. I felt like it just kind of turned into a checklist, and it was just a very lackluster story in my opinion, and I gave it 2 stars. Next up, I have The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins, and I read the Hunger Games series when I was a teenager, and I really enjoyed them. I remember I had mixed feelings about Mockingjay, but overall, like, I still think it's a solid trilogy, and I was so excited about this book when it was announced because I love a villain story, I love a villain origin story, and Snow was always an interesting character in my opinion. He's very manipulative, and he's very charming, and he seems very clever. And I was excited to get this backstory, but then I saw a lot of people were really disliking this book when it came out, so I decided to skip it. But now I've seen that there has been like a lot of Hunger Games hype again, and I decided to pick this one up and give it a try. And unfortunately, I was once again disappointed. I don't know if I want to give it 2.5 or 3 stars. I feel like I'm leaning more towards the 2.5 stars, but I feel like there were a lot of things about this book that I liked. I liked seeing the Capitol kind of after the war and seeing how everyone has been affected by that. I like seeing kind of this very early version of the Hunger Games and how it wasn't, this giant spectacle, and how the people of the Capitol didn't want to watch it because a lot of them were very grossed out by the Hunger Games and the kind of the treatment of these tributes, but nobody really does anything, and I think that was really interesting. And so I liked a lot of the themes and the ideas that were there, but I feel like this book really struggled with pacing, and I feel like there were chunks where it felt like it was multiple stories kind of just smashed together, and I felt really bored while reading it. There were times when I was struggling to get through it. And I really feel like I liked Snow's character, not in the sense that like I like him as a person, but like I like reading about him. He is an interesting character study for sure. I really like how manipulative he is, and we kind of see his thoughts and how he is very ambitious and how he wants to be viewed a certain way, and he doesn't want anyone to know that he is poor, so he really, puts a lot of value into his looks and in his appearance so that people can perceive him in a certain way. And I really like those aspects. I feel like where this book really shined, though, was with Snow's interactions with others. So Dean Highbottom, Dr. Gould, Lucy Gray, Sejanus. He is so manipulative, and he is so good at twisting the narrative to fit what he wants. And he uses everyone for his own gain. So I did really like seeing, this kind of dark, twisted version of Snow and seeing what's going on in his mind. Because he so frequently, whenever he speaks to someone, he says one thing to them, but then he thinks something very different. And I found that so interesting. But I feel like I felt very detached from Snow's character and from the other characters in the story. It felt very surface level, and I don't know if that's just because I was reading from Snow's perspective, and that's just how he views things. And I feel like I didn't feel like a natural progression from where he started out into villainy. Like I feel like he went from like a level 4 baddie to a level 10 baddie real quick. Like I feel like there was a distinct shift in him being a guy who sucks versus becoming a psychopath. And I wish that progression had been more gradual, or like I wish I had seen it better. But yeah, I love a villain story, but This one didn't work for me. Next up, I have Hell for Hire by Rachel Aaron. And this is a story where we follow Adrian, who is a Blackwood witch, and he was supposed to be given to the warlocks as a child to be trained, but he chose to stay with the witches, and that's very much against the rules. The warlocks are now putting a lot of pressure on the witches, so Adrian takes his sentient broom and his talking cat, and he goes to Seattle, and he's going to start his own Witchwood. And he's kind of hoping to take the heat off of his family, and he hires a group of demons to protect him. And I thought this book was very refreshing. It's an adult urban fantasy. I really like the world building in this, where we have, these different magical beings, and mortals and immortals interact, but mortals are unaware because they have scales over their eyes. I thought that was a cool concept. I loved watching Adrian do his little witchy magic in his chapters. They felt very cozy. We see him, building his house and making scarecrows and making potions, and it was very different from the lead demon. Bex is our other POV, and her chapters are much more action-packed. And I feel like it was like a nice blend of fighting and action with a little bit of cozy, witchy goodness in there. And I did have fun with it. It was slightly humorous. I think there is the potential for romance in the future. There was no romance in this book, but just like a good found family aspect and friendship. And I did like that. I loved his talking cat. I loved the idea of the sentient broom. But then in like the last bit of this book, we get into this conflict, and I feel like the conflict is setting up for an even larger conflict later on in the series. And I feel like I'm not really as interested in that conflict. I kind of just wanted to watch Adrian do his little witchy things. But yeah, I'm still going to continue on. I ended up giving this one 4 stars. I did enjoy it. I'll be interested to see how this conflict plays out. I felt like it was a little too easily resolved in this one, and I'll be hoping for higher stakes in the next one. And last up here, I have my favorite book of the month, and that is A Drop of Corruption by Robert Jackson Bennett. And I really enjoyed this book. We follow Anna and Din as they head to a city on the outskirts of the Empire to search for a missing person, and of course they get involved in a much larger plot. I really enjoyed this one. I really enjoyed the first book. I gave that one 4 stars as well, but I feel like the middle did have some pacing issues for me. And overall, though, I still really enjoyed it, and I gave that one 4 stars as well. But this one, I think, was even better. It was very tight in terms of the plotting and the pacing, and we learned a lot more about this world and more about Anna and, kind of the Empire and the people of this empire. So I did really like that aspect, and of course I really liked some of the side characters in this book as well. I really love Anna and her eccentricities. She is very similar to Sherlock, and I feel like the way that this is described as like a Sherlock and Watson in a fantasy world is very accurate, and I think it's very well done. And I feel like this is one of those books where I feel like I don't figure it out until the characters do. Like, it's like once I get the pieces into place, that's kind of when the reveal is. So I feel like I'm not figuring things out super early and waiting for the characters to catch up with me. And I feel like it is written in a way where you can figure out who it is at the same time, if that makes sense. I don't think that he's trying to make it really hard, and I don't think that he's trying to make it too easy either. I think it's just right, and that's what I like about it. And I'm really looking forward to the rest of the series. I really like his descriptions and the way that he describes the world. I ended up giving this one 4 stars as well. So those are all the books that I read in May. Let me know if you read any of these. Let me know what your favorite read of May was because I would love to know. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon.